Okay, so imagine this, right? It's Father's Day weekend, 1969. Beautiful, sunny day in the Great Smoky Mountains.
Yeah.
The Martin family.
Right.
They're on, like, their annual camping trip at Spence Field. This popular spot nestled right near the Appalachian Trail, known for its stunning views. It's just like picture of like wholesome family fun, right?
Yeah.
But this idyllic scene is about to become the backdrop for a mystery that's haunted people for decades. So you've asked for a deep dive into the baffling disappearance of Dennis Martin.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you, this case has it all. A frantic search, perplexing clues, and theories that range from the heartbreaking to the downright unsettling.
Okay.
So who is Dennis Martin?
Yeah.
He was 6 years old, from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Described as a bit shy, but playful, like any other kid his age.
Right.
On that day, he was with his dad, William, his older brother, Doug, and his grandfather, Clyde. And the day unfolded like any other camping trip, you know, family enjoying the outdoors.
Right.
At some point in the afternoon, Dennis and his brother, along with some other kids they met at the campground, decided to play hide and seek.
And that's the thing about this case. It underscores how quickly the ordinary can turn extraordinary.
Right.
One minute you're a child playing a game, the next, you've vanished.
Exactly. They were going to surprise the adults, these kids. Can you imagine that moment of anticipation?
Yeah.
Little Dennis, all bundled up in his excitement, was last seen by his dad, darting behind a bush, ready to jump out and yell, "Boo!"
Oh.
But that boo never came.
Oh.
Minutes passed.
Right.
Silence settled over the clearing where the adults were gathered.
Yeah.
It probably started as a playful, "Come on out, Dennis, we give up."
Right.
But as more minutes ticked by this chilling realization crept in. Something was very, very wrong.
Yeah.
Now Spence Field? It might seem idyllic, but as you know, the Smoky Mountains can be deceptively dangerous.
Absolutely.
Right.
The Smokies are vast.
Yeah.
Dense forests, rugged terrain, shadowy hollows.
Yeah.
It's truly breathtaking. Yeah. But it also means that if someone wants to stay hidden,
Right.
it's the perfect place. And for a 6-year-old boy,
Right.
especially one described as shy, it would be all too easy to take a wrong turn and get disoriented.
And that's exactly what investigators initially feared, right? Tragic accident.
Right.
That Dennis, in his excitement, wandered off the trail and got lost in the wilderness.
Yeah.
But here's where the accident theory starts to get a little shaky, wouldn't you say?
Yes, because we have to consider the sheer scale of the search effort.
Right.
This wasn't just a few park rangers and volunteers combing the woods.
Right.
We're talking thousands of people. National Guard, expertly trained search dogs.
Wow.
Even the FBI were brought in.
Really?
Helicopters were flying overhead, meticulously scanning the dense canopy below. They searched for days, then weeks, and they found nothing.
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 Wow.
Not a footprint, not a scrap of clothing, no sign of a struggle, no
Right.
anything. And that's what makes this case so perplexing.
Right.
Even in such dense, unforgiving wilderness, you typically find something,
Right.
some trace of a missing person.
Yeah.
But Dennis vanished without a trace.
Wow.
It's as if the mountains themselves swallowed him whole.
And that silence, that lack of any sign of Dennis, only deepened the mystery.
Right.
And then, just when it seemed like the case might go cold, a new piece of information surfaced, adding another layer to this already baffling case.
Okay.
Days after Dennis disappeared, a man named Harold Key came forward with a chilling account. He told investigators that he'd been in the park with his family near a place called Rowan's Creek, miles from where Dennis disappeared.
Okay.
He said he heard a scream, this blood-curdling scream, and then saw a rough-looking man lurking in the woods acting suspiciously. Now, Harold Key's account, as you can imagine, sent shockwaves through the investigation.
Yeah.
Was this the break they'd been waiting for? Could this rough-looking man be the key to unraveling Dennis's disappearance?
You know, delayed witness testimony is always a double-edged sword.
Right.
On one hand, it can provide a crucial lead, especially in a case as cold as this one.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, memory is a fickle thing.
Right.
Could Mr. Key have been connecting dots that weren't there?
Right. Like, was his mind desperate for answers, superimposing a sinister figure onto an otherwise unrelated memory?
Precisely. And let's not forget, the original search hadn't even extended to the area where Mr. Key reported his sighting.
Right.
It was miles away from where Dennis was last seen.
Right.
So if we were to take his account at face value, It raises more questions than answers.
Yeah.
How did this man, if he was involved, manage to get a 6-year-old child through miles of dense, unfamiliar wilderness unnoticed by search parties? It's a question that has haunted investigators for years. And it's important to note that the FBI took Mr. Key's account very seriously.
Right.
They even brought in experts to analyze his statement, looking for any inconsistencies or signs of fabrication.
Right.
And-
And what did they find?
Well, that's where it gets even more complicated.
Okay.
The experts couldn't definitively rule out his account.
Wow.
They found him to be credible, at least in terms of his sincerity. Whether his memory was accurate, however, remained an open question.
So we're left grappling with this unsettling possibility. Was Dennis Martin the victim of a stranger abduction in the vast wilderness of the Great Smoky Mountains?
It's a theory that certainly can't be ignored,
Hmm.
especially given Mr. Key's statement.
Right.
But it's also a theory that comes with its own set of challenges.
Because how do you even begin to solve a crime in a place where every rock, every tree, every shadowy hollow could be hiding a piece of the puzzle?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in cases like this, where physical evidence is scarce and witness accounts are often unreliable,
Right.
investigators are forced to rely on something else, something more intuitive.
You mean like profiling?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trying to understand the mind of the person who might have taken Dennis.
So if we were to entertain the abduction theory, what kind of profile might fit someone who could pull off something like this in such a remote location?
Well, we'd be looking at someone who knows the terrain,
Right.
someone who could blend in, someone who could disappear into those mountains as easily as Dennis seemed to.
Someone who could move through the wilderness silently and undetected, even with a 6-year-old in tow.
Yeah,
It's a chilling thought.
it is.
Yeah.
But let's not forget the other theories.
Right.
However improbable they might seem,
Yeah.
given the lack of evidence,
Right.
there's still the possibility that Dennis wandered off and succumbed to the elements,
Right.
or that he encountered a wild animal.
It's just hard to imagine, isn't it?
It is.
With so many people searching,
Right.
wouldn't they have found something? Yeah.
A shoe.
Right.
A piece of clothing.
You would think so.
Yeah.
But the wilderness can be a fickle thing.
Right.
It can conceal as much as it reveals.
Right.
And sometimes, even with the most extensive searches, the earth holds its secrets close.
And that's what makes this case so captivating, so endlessly fascinating, isn't it? It's the unknown,
Yeah.
the not knowing,
Yeah.
the sense that somewhere out there in those dense, unforgiving mountains, the answer is waiting to be found. And perhaps that's why, even after all these years, the case of Dennis Martin continues to capture our imaginations. Because it forces us to confront the limits of our own understanding, to acknowledge that sometimes, despite our best efforts, some mysteries remain unsolved.
Unanswered questions echoing through the valleys of time.
Wow.
And in the case of Dennis Martin, those echoes are particularly haunting because they remind us that even in the most beautiful and seemingly serene places, darkness can lurk.
Right.
And sometimes that darkness claims the innocent. So where does that leave us? We've explored the details of the disappearance, delved into the frantic search, and grappled with the various theories, each more unsettling than the last.
We've seen how the lack of physical evidence, combined with a single, chilling eyewitness account, created a tangled web of possibilities.
And we've touched upon the unsettling nature of delayed witness testimony, how memory can be a powerful yet unreliable thing.
Yeah.
We've examined the potential role of criminal profiling in cases like this, where investigators are forced to venture into the minds of those who operate in the shadows.
Right.
But most importantly, I think this deep dive has revealed something else, something profound about the enduring nature of mystery.
Because while we crave answers, while we seek closure,
Right.
there's a part of us that's also drawn to the unknown.
It's the reason we tell ghost stories around campfires.
Right.
It's the reason we devour true crime podcasts.
Yeah.
The reason we're still talking about a 6-year-old boy who vanished in the woods over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the most compelling mysteries are the ones that defy easy answers.
Right.
They're the ones that stay with us long after we've turned off the lights. The ones that make us question what we think we know about the world and the darkness that sometimes hides in plain sight.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the unsettling disappearance of Dennis Martin, we're left with one final, thought-provoking question.
Okay.
If you were tasked with solving this case, where would you even begin?
That's the question that's kept so many people up at night, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
Would you start by re-examining the physical evidence, hoping that modern technology might reveal something missed all those years ago?
It's certainly a possibility.
Right.
Forensic science has advanced tremendously since 1969.
Right.
A simple DNA test, for example, could potentially rule in or rule out certain scenarios.
Or would you delve deeper into Harold Key's account, retracing his steps, interviewing anyone who might have been in the area of Romans Creek on that day?
That's another crucial avenue,
Right.
even if it feels like chasing ghosts at times.
Right.
Witnesses may recall new details,
Right.
or corroborating accounts could emerge after all this time.
Right. Or perhaps you dive into the psychology of the case, building a profile of someone who could vanish without a trace in a vast wilderness like the Great Smoky Mountains.
That psychological element is always fascinating, isn't it?
It really is.
Trying to understand the motivations,
Right.
the capabilities
Yeah.
of someone who could perpetrate such a crime.
Because as we've seen, Dennis's case is about more than just the events of that day.
Right.
It's a story that forces us to confront the unknown, the unknowable,
Yeah.
to accept that sometimes there are no easy answers, no satisfying conclusions.
Just a profound sense of loss.
Right.
And a mystery that lingers in the air like the mountain mist, long after we've left the forest.
And it's a reminder that even in a world saturated with information, some stories resist resolution, becoming part of the fabric of the unknown.
Right.
And
It's those stories, the ones that stay with us, that challenge us to keep searching, keep questioning, keep hoping that one day the truth might finally emerge from the shadows.
It's a reminder to be aware of our surroundings.
Right.
And to take precautions.
Absolutely.
Especially when we're in unfamiliar territory.
Oh, sad.
this deep dive into the disappearance of Dennis Martin has been both fascinating and unsettling.
It really has.
It's a story that reminds us of the power of mystery and the enduring resilience of hope, even in the face of unimaginable loss.